So on the Linux operating system, we're typically operating as a specified user. For example, if I type in who am I here, I'm going to see that my user is DA129. Now, if you look at some of our other videos that have to do with files and permissions, we'll know that your user has a specific limit to what it can and cannot do. So today we're going to explain a little bit about something called sudo and root. Okay, so what are we talking about when we talk about sudo? Let me show you an example. If I want to try and install something, I'm going to try and do apt install. Let's do nginx. You'll note that I'm getting permission denied. I'm getting a question, are you root? So what is going on here? Well, essentially, the DA129 user is attempting to install software that all users could have. Well, most people who run Linux distributions decide that's probably not the best way of doing business. We probably want to make sure only certain people are installing things for the greater community on your operating system. So in this case, I need to invoke the sudo command. What you need to know about the sudo command is this is a way for you to act as what's called a sudoer. Okay, and a sudoer, just think of that as like you're an administrator. It's equivalent if you've ever had to right click on something in like Windows or Mac and run as an admin, right? So basically it's saying, hey, check to see if DA129 is a sudoer or an admin. If so, then okay, we can run the command. A lot of times, but not all the times, when you run sudo, you'll probably have to put in your password as well, just to verify that the actual warm-blooded person typing in the command is in fact reflected as the electronic user that's trying to implement this thing. So if I do this and I do sudo apt install nginx, now everything goes according to plan. I can install things as I would want to go. So that's one place where we're going to see this come into play. Okay, where's something else we might see something come into play? So if I cd up a directory from my home directory and I cd down into this VCM directory, right? And I try to create a file, hello.txt. Note, I cannot touch hello.txt, permission denied, right? And if we look at our permissions, you're going to see that, hey, this VCM user has permission on everything, okay? I'm not the VCM user, am I? So how could I, what if I had a legitimate reason to need to create, destroy, update, do all sorts of things inside this directory? Well, what I'm going to do is I could become root. That's one option. So to become root, I'm just going to do sudo and then su. Short for super user, okay? And press enter. Again, depending on how recently you've typed in your password, you may have to type in your password again. Now, this is very important. When I do who am I, like we did at the beginning, now I'm root. I'm no longer DA129. This is important. This is critical, okay? Once we are root, we are kind of acting with impunity. There's a lot of checks that are disabled, and you can pretty much do anything under the sun at this point, right? So if I try to do the same thing I did earlier, touch hello.txt, we can see how I can create hello.txt. But notice that it also creates it with permissions of the root user and the root group. That may be desirable, that may not be desirable. But just understand that any action you take as root, you'll probably be disabling some checks that you would have as a normal user, and you don't have that safety recycling bin or undo that you necessarily have in other operating systems. So typically, as opposed to acting as root, and to get rid of root, I'm just going to type in exit. We would just use the sudo command, right? We would do something like sudo touch world.txt, something like that. And you can see we get the same result, right? We're just not locked in to being the root user. So sometimes it's much better to just run things one-off as sudo rather than root. Just know that there sometimes may come a legitimate use case where you need to become the root user and take action at that level.